Tori McElhaney joining us, Falcons.com writer, and she does a terrific job. Make sure you check out her stuff. And Tori, I know, Sunday, the anticipation, as it continues to build, you've been following this team all off season. It's been a really cool off season, hasn't it? First of all, let's just acknowledge that before we get to the season with all the things that have happened and then the draft. I mean, it's probably been a cool off season, right?
No, it really has. I think in terms of just the excitement level that I felt, not just from fans, but also kind of inside the building with coaches and players, it just feels different going into this season. It just feels a little bit more hopeful. It feels a bit more exciting. And I keep telling people, it's like, I know that all of the moves that were made this off season and going and getting Bijan Robinson and all the free agent acquisitions, like all this stuff is so awesome. But remember that I've said this season, this 2023 season, wasn't just an off season in the making. It's been 2 years in the making. And you have to think about how this started out 2 years ago and the moves that have gotten the Falcons to where they are now. And it's about to kind of see if those moves are ready to pay off.
We've been joking around about this all off season, Tori, and I think you probably feel the same way, second that emotion. I'm so sick and tired of talking about what Desmond Ridder is or isn't.
Yeah.
I just want to see him do it. My only beef was, like a lot of Falcon fans wanted more of him earlier in the year last year. I always say Arthur's put his trust in him. And what have you seen? We've seen the ball kind of coming out faster, better decision making. That's one of the things I saw as far as an evolution during camp. And obviously in the Bengals game, looked like he was making the right decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think, too, when you talk to Desmond himself, he makes the comment time and time again that he's like, I feel more comfortable and confident in this offensive scheme. And, I mean, it goes obviously back to the fact that he's been in this system now for a year, but to actually be QB1, to have been named QB1 this offseason and to go through an entire preseason, training camp, all of it, with that knowledge and kind of have that on his shoulders already, I think it's been really good for him. I think his command has always been there. And I think that's just something that has continued to grow as he's grown into this role. Now, obviously, I'm with y'all. I want to see what happens when he's not going up against air, or he's not going up against someone in the preseason or anything, or going up against his own defense. I actually want to see what he can do. I'm with you guys on that too. But it's like, at the exact same time, I keep saying the expectation that I have for Desmond Ridder is that he gets the ball in the hands of his playmakers often. And it's like, I can say that until I'm blue in the face. It's easier said than done, right? But that, to me, is the marker of what it's going to be, how the Falcons are going to be offensively. Is can Desmond Ridder get the ball in the hands of this skill group that has been pretty impressive for the Falcons?
Tori McElhaney, our guest here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Tori, Calais, Campbell, we were up at Flowery on Wednesday. We'll be up there next Wednesday to talk with Coach. And Calais stepped in the room, and he lit the room up. And I know you've had a chance to visit with him and talk with him. And the question is, what is he going to do for this team, in your opinion? Because after the interview, I was even more enthusiastic about what he may bring to this team.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I think it's something that I've kind of seen just from the outside looking in too, about his dynamics with guys like Zach Harrison, what he does for a rookie that's coming in here trying to prove that he belongs in this league. But also not even that. I mean, you talk about the impact that he can have on these younger defensive ends and D linemen. What he's done for Grady Jarrett, I think, is the most impactful of anything else. And I actually wrote a whole story about this, about why it mattered that Calais Campbell chose to come to the Falcons. We know why he chose to come here. He's said that. He's gone on the record multitude of times. But what Grady Jarrett said really stuck with me when I asked him why it mattered to him that Calais chose to come to the Falcons. And he said that he believes in this team and what's being built here. And every time you talk to Calais, you really hear that. He makes an emphasis and a point to say that. But also Grady Jarrett sitting there I've been the vet in the room for a long time, even though I don't technically think I'm that old, but I've been the vet. And to now have someone that I can lean on, that I can seek counsel in, that I can learn something from, that means a lot to me. And I think with Grady Jarrett, that partnership, that's honestly just as important as anything else as to why Calais Campbell is here is for that reason right there.
It is Tori McElhaney, guys. Read her stuff and the feature she does as well at AtlantaFalcons.com. We're going to the Big Falcons pep rally. We're here at Hobnob at Atlantic Station. That'll kick off at 7. Going to be a lot of fun. We talked about it with Arthur Smith and Calais. There's a real buzz around this team. Hoping the fans get in there early, and there'll be more of them than Carolina Panther fans, especially where I sit at the 300 level.
There will be.
Yeah, man. But, this team and creating buzz. Bijan Robinson, do you think he's going to be the focal point of that? That he's going to be the guy that's ultimately going to be putting the fannies in the seats this year?
Well, I think back to I think it was the first carry that he had
Right.
in that preseason game. The only time that we ever saw him, and it was that one little cut that he had that he just kind of made that DV for the Bengals look a little silly. But that moment, I remember, because now in the press box, it's an open air press box, so we don't have the glass in front of us anymore, so I can actually hear the fans. And in that moment, that was the moment that I think everybody was like, ooh, like you could feel how much people enjoyed watching him perform in that one split second of a moment. You felt it, and you felt that excitement, and how I think this fan base really latches on to the explosive and dynamic player that Bijan Robinson is. And so I think there are a lot of people that are really excited to not only just see Bijan Robinson, but to see what he looks like in this offense. Specifically, the Falcons have said since the moment that they drafted him that he's an offensive weapon for them. What does that accurately mean when they go up against someone like an NFC South divisional opponent like the Panthers?
Tori, the defense overall, give me your real expectations. I've been asked this question, and I said, look, I think the defense has potential to be top 10. What does that look like? I'm not sure yet, but I do think if we have that kind of potential from where we've been, where, we've been high teens or, low 20s for the most part here over the last few years, and last in a lot of categories, especially on the back half of the defense, which I think now is a strength with the DBs and the safeties we have.
Yeah, no, when I look at this defense on paper, and as I'm kind of getting ready to look at what the season could look like for this defensive production, my expectation, and this is pretty lofty, but I do believe this, I expect almost every statistical measurement for this defense to increase. Now, what type of increase does that look like? I'm not entirely sure, and I think it depends on what we're kind of talking about. But I feel like there should be obvious increase in production in every statistical category there is. Now, the Falcons were actually pretty good there's one that I'm actually okay with it not changing all too much, but the Falcons in the back half of the season defensively last year were really, really good in the red zone. They just were. And I think if that can carry over into the 2023 season, then I'm okay with that metric kind of being what it was in the back half of last season. Everything else, I hope increases, and I expect it to increase.
Looking to see what Bergeron can do also as well. We talked so much about, Hennessy. It stunk that he got injured, but it did benefit Bergeron getting so many more reps with the first team. We talked yesterday about Derek Brown. Maybe Brian Burns plays for Carolina. One thing we know, Tori, that defensive line has gotten after the Falcons the last couple of years, so it's a good test of the trenches.
It will be, and I think that for Matthew Bergeron, this is going to be a good test for him. I think it was really good that he got a little bit more reps in the preseason for even in like live game scenarios. I know in that Bengals game, he actually ended up getting a second drive at left guard so that he could get more live reps in. Because I think people forget Matthew Bergeron didn't play a single rep at inside guard at all in college. This is a guy that's been a tackle for his entire college career. So it really is like a really, really new thing for him. It is a new position. It's changing muscle memory to better fit what he needs to do inside. So for those reasons, everything that's happened up until this point, you hope has gotten him ready for this moment. Now, what does that look like? Does it look like, how much is he being relied upon to kind of take on some of these guys that you're talking about on this Carolina defense alone? So there's a lot of things that I think go into what this game could look like for Matthew Bergeron. But I feel, and every time I talk to him, I feel that he has a certain level of confidence that he needs at this point in time in his career to go out there and try his best in a new position that he's never played before.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then I heard Bijan, and maybe you were there, Tori, talking about his relationship with Bergeron, which is kind of interesting. Were you there when he talked about that?
I was not, but I heard it.
Yeah. And I thought that was fascinating. These are two young guys and already connecting from a guy that's going to be opening holes for Bijan and their connection already. Hey, Tori, enjoy the season. We appreciate you coming on. We look forward to visiting with you, and I'm looking forward to talking about a Falcon win on Monday. Thanks so much for being here. Enjoy on Sunday.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good weekend.
You too. Tori McElhaney with the Falcons, guys. Falcons Friday on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game, brought to you by Jim Ellis Kia of Kennesaw, where you can expect the best.